So I just got done watching the Borderlands movie, and trust me, guys, it wasn't as bad as everybody says it was. Let's talk some positive about it. So the reason I'm doing this video is because I'm a huge Borderlands fan. I love the games. I started with game 2, then 3, then I finally played the first one. But also I played the prequel, which I wasn't really big with. So, but anyways, that's a completely different video that I did a while ago or whatever. So anyways, there's a lot of negativity on this movie. So a lot of people are like, oh, I'm disappointed. Well, you got to think about it too. The games are drawn out to keep you playing and stuff like that. So the storylines are not going to be perfect. So they had to do an hour and 40 minutes, right, of cutting things down to kind of make sense of it, to make it a story. A decent movie. I wouldn't say it's a decent movie, but me as a fan, I enjoyed it though. I liked the whole movie when I was watching it, just by the graphics and stuff. A lot of people probably didn't like the CG or the graphics or whatever. I enjoyed it. It made me feel like I was playing the game. Because if you look at the games and stuff like that, a lot of the graphics look pretty dang close to it, right? So, but anyways, this is gonna be like a spoiler kind of talk about it. So, a lot of people are probably not gonna watch the movie anyways. So just in case, spoiler alert. So, but I'm going to bring up the story first. I'm going to start talking about the characters. So pretty much you had Roland breaking Tiny Tina out, right? And in that process, they became allies with Krieg. They took off. Lilith was hired as a bounty hunter to go after to find and locate the daughter of the CEO of Atlas and Pandora to go get Tiny Tina, pretty much. So she goes there, explosion starts happening, stuff like that too. Finally, Roland comes in, pulls him out or whatever. But you see creatures in there. You can see the skag in there and all kinds of stuff like that too. But you find out the overall villain, though, is Atlas Corporation or whatever. So they all team up pretty much to go together. They go hide out for a little bit. Moxie helps them out. Then you meet Tannis. Tannis is like the overall smart person, stuff like that too. And all right. So they all allied up to go find the vault key. Well, they had the vault key, the 2 pieces, even though in the game it's 3 pieces. And the 3rd piece was actually supposed to be Tiny Tina. So Tiny Tina and them, they all split off. They had to go to the Bloodshots and stuff like that too, to go get the other piece or whatever. So they got all the stuff together. They finally go find the vault or whatever, and come to find out Tiny Tina isn't it. It's actually Lilith, the daughter of the higher ups, open up, stuff like that too. So it was a pretty simple, basic movie and stuff like that too. One positive thing was the Firehawk looked great. I loved it. So, but anyways, the only really thing I didn't really like about it was you did see at the very end a creature pop up inside the vault, right, and take the CEO of Atlas. But at the same time, every game you play, you shoot up, you fight, you defeat a big creature. Well, we didn't have that in here, so. But they did have the Threshers. The Threshers were freaking cool. So you had a big, big Thresher, and it looked super great. It was all smoky and stuff, mist and stuff, so you can't really see it. But you had the tentacles going everywhere and stuff like that too. The big mouth opening up. Like, it was pretty detailed compared to the game and stuff like that too. It was just huge. It was a big Thresher. It was really freaking cool. So they did fight a big monster, but that one, like I'm playing Borderlands 2 right now, and you fight a big fire one, you fight a Slappy or whatever, then you fight this big Thresher later on, which, it's almost impossible to beat or whatever. So, but story ends pretty much later on, Lilith becomes the Firehawk. Tiny Tina wasn't the chosen one or the special kid or whatever. Roland and all of them did pretty good. So, I mean, it was not bad. So, but that's pretty much the gist, like a short running of the story or whatever. So, but I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. Now I'm going to talk about the characters. So I'll start out with Tannis. Tannis actually was pretty good in it too. Like, she was smart. She judged everyone. I liked it. She did the whole I'm better than everybody, but she also has that mindset. She's also a scientist type or whatever. I think our character was pretty dead on. It was close. Very, very, very close. So, later on, in the games, you find out she becomes a siren too. So I'm going to get to the siren stuff later on. But Tannis did pretty good. She had the knowledge. She had the whereabouts. And she was the key person to bring all of them together to make the mission happen. I like that. So Tannis, all right, I give her a thumbs up. Commander Knox. Remember from the first game, you didn't really see her until the end when she opened the vault, right? But the creature with the tentacles that you see at the end of the movie took an Atlas guy. Well, in the game, Knox barely had any screen time. You had her at the end get pretty much destroyed by the creature in the vault, right? Well, this one actually was working commander of the Atlas group or whatever, and hunting them down with their little army and stuff like that too. She had a lot of screen time, but the thing I didn't like about it, she is a siren. We didn't know, there was nothing known about what kind of siren power she actually had or anything like that though. But the fact that she has some screen time, she had that commander thing going on, she did good. And she had a nice little accent going on and everything like that too. I think she did good, especially on her little flying thing or whatever. But the very end though, she was actually turning on the Atlas guys, telling them, no, don't do it. Then, then she got destroyed, unfortunately. But she was actually a lead villain to open up the portal, right? She's a siren, so she can do it. So, like I said, I'm gonna get to the siren stuff later on, but she had more screen time. I like that. That was really good. So you got to see a little bit more of her character in the acting world. So it was a nice little touch. Now Marcus did not disappoint. He showed up, picked up Lilith on a bus, and he says, "I'm here for. I take vault hunters and give them the tours and take them where they need to go." She's like, Lilith's like, "I'm not a vault hunter." Over and over and over again. Guess what? Well, she ended up being one at the end, right? Well, Marcus was dead on. He says, "I know everybody by their guns, all that stuff." But he identified people with their weapons. He talked about business and stuff like that too. Remember, all the vending machines you go to in the games, he's all about his weapons, his guns, all that stuff too, or whatever. He doesn't care who you are as long as you're buying stuff from him. So he was pretty dead on. I liked his attitude. His voice was almost on too. He looked really good. So I'm actually impressed with that. Now Moxie. I didn't really care for her look or really her voice, but she did say Sugar a few times or whatever, and she did her best. So she is a bartender, obviously, right? And she sees everything and knows everything because people talk, especially when they're drunk. They just talk and talk and talk. So she knows everything. She knows where to go, who to talk to. She's like a pivot point or whereabouts of everything. So I think the character played a pretty good thing in there. You would have to have her in that movie. But she set up so many different areas. Go this way, go that way. She even covered for our heroes a few times, though. But I enjoyed her. She did all right. They probably could have got somebody else, but she did pretty good. But she also changed it per game. She changed her appearance multiple times. So we'll just go with that. Now, Krieg, I don't know much about him, though. I did play after Maya passed away in Borderlands 3, I did play that to understand his mind and stuff like that. Some of the stuff he was saying didn't make sense. I get it. I wish they had more clever words, just spinning the words off and stuff like that too. But he did his best and stuff like that too. I mean, he looked the part. The mask, the muscles, the meat bicycle, all that stuff looked amazing. I enjoyed that part. But some of the stuff he was saying, made sense. And with Krieg, you don't want him to make sense. So he did good. I enjoyed that, but I wish he had more of the some of the words he likes to say or the stuff that doesn't make any sense. Even Tiny Tina in the movie was like, this guy you're not making any sense or whatever. And I think that's like the only time she ever said it. So, and I like the fact Krieg actually took care of Tiny Tina. So there was a theory at one time that Tiny Tina is actually the daughter of Krieg, but who knows, right? Now I judge really bad on Hart. Hart did pretty good with Roland. So Roland, is more of a serious character. When he was in there originally, busting her out, busting Tiny Tina out and stuff like that too, he sounded like he was trying to crack jokes and stuff like that too, but the rest of the movie, he was pretty much serious. He played a serious role. He's a serious guy. He doesn't have the shape and build for it because he's supposed to be a little taller, buff and stuff like that too, big muscle guy or whatever. But he had fun. He was ballsy. He put his neck on the line for everything. He did good. I think he did amazing. So, but Roland was pretty good. I'm not bashing on Kevin Hart for being a little guy, but at the same time, I'm just saying he did pretty good, right? And a lot of people talked so much bad stuff about him, stuff like that too. I thought it was comedy and stuff like that too. No, it wasn't. No. But speaking of comedy, let's talk about Claptrap. Claptrap had his annoying voice, but it was of course Blackjack, so no big deal. But he was annoying. He did random stuff. But I think he played too much into it. you know, in a way. Like, he wasn't the real Claptrap, and they try to make him like the real Claptrap on there. But they try their best for what they have or whatever. The details, CG or whatever on the bot itself, on Claptrap's robot, looks really good. I mean, I liked it. I enjoyed it. He looked pretty dead on, I think. So, and I like the fact he actually had a story with it, right? So he had a purpose to go find Lilith. Why, though? Well, the point was his mom's the one that sent Claptrap, and supposedly Claptrap's the one and the only, you know, ones left. I wish they got more into his back details about what happened to the rest of them or whatever, but I'm sure that I can do a prequel or make any more movies about it or whatever. But Claptrap was programmed to go find Lilith, and we find out later on why, right? So, but yeah, so he had a purpose. So now we're going to talk about Claptrap. I liked about Claptrap is he actually has a purpose. When you actually play the game, you're like, why is this robot here following me around? Why do I have to listen to this guy? Like, what's the whole point of this guy? Besides, he sets you up for the, you know, the games and stuff. So every time you pretty much meet him, he goes, oh, look, another deadbolt hunter. Well, not really. He actually had a purpose in this. So he was programmed to wake up when Lilith returned to Pandora. He woke up, found her, didn't know why, right? Well, turns out later on, Lilith's mother programmed him and had a message in there, a hidden message far away, explaining stuff. So I like the fact that he actually had a story, a purpose in this too. But the robot itself looked amazing. I like the robot. He was pretty dead on and stuff like that too. Like, it was amazing. So in the robot voice, it was out there a little bit, but they had that little computer voice going on with Blackjack. It was pretty good. He annoyed a lot of people and stuff like that. He does that in the games and stuff like that too, especially when you walk around a sanctuary and you see him just running around, just talking around to people in the game and stuff like that too. People are like, get away from me. Well, he actually had a purpose, and he annoyed the crap out of our heroes and stuff like that too, though. But he was all right. I didn't mind him at all. But, you know, but that's the whole point of him, this annoying robot, right? So Tiny Tina, right, with her story point was pretty much she was the chosen one, the special one. Well, I'll find out later on at the end, she wasn't. And I don't understand the whole clone thing. I don't remember anything in the games about clones or anything like that, or Atlas experimenting on people or making copies of people or cloning people or whatever like that. So that kind of threw me off. You know, yeah, I was trying to be positive though, but it was a cool little storyline pickup or whatever. So anyways, you find out she's either was cloned, she was created, or is there multiple versions of her. I'm assuming, because at the end of it, the Atlas guy goes, oh, just wait for the next, you know, keep off her, you know, body parts, you know, the insides and stuff. We're going to make another one, you know, like that. So, yeah. But she was out there and stuff. She had a little bunny ears and stuff going on, too. They really focused on her. Like, she was one of the key elements of the whole story to get everyone together and moving on. You know, she was the key. Everyone followed her. She was the lead, pretty much. Like I said, Krieg loved her. You know, Lilith ended up liking her or whatever, being really protective over her at the end and stuff like that too. Roland was always protective over her and stuff like that too. But her character she's crazy, goofy, and all that stuff like that too. And she threw those little rabbits around like crazy. So that was actually kind of entertaining. She did a lot of her explosive stuff. She was, like I said, loopy, just not all there. But she also had a personal side to it, like a sadness to her too, a little bit. I enjoyed, but she hides that with her craziness. So. But she was pretty good. I liked her. So now I'm going to talk about Lilith. So at first I was kind of like, I don't know about this, man. You know, she's supposed to be a younger girl, kind of, you know, maybe in her like mid-20s or something like that. But they casted a whole other actor. She actually looked really good in the show, in the movie. So all the trailers, not so much. The pictures, not so much. But when I actually watched it, her personality went with her character so well. Because she is a badass. She's always been a badass. But I think they went a little too far with it. But it worked for her character. She was shooting stuff up. She was having fun. She was a bounty hunter and stuff like that too. Didn't take no crap. I love that too. And that's why she comes later on after, you know, spoiler alert. In the game, Roland passed away and she becomes the Crimson Raiders leader, right? The commander, pretty much. So I just didn't like the fact she wasn't a siren right away. But we'll get to that in a little bit here. But yeah, her looks... She was pretty dead on. Her attitude was pretty dead on. I just like the fact she even had the Infinity Gun. The Infinity Gun is something I picked up, and I think Borderlands 2 or whatever, and it has the 8 on it. If you remember when they zoomed in, where she's like laying down almost on her like her leg right there. You see the gun. You see that 8 on it too, the Infinity gun. I love how they pinpointed that too. But yeah, she had common sense. She didn't take crap for anybody. She was doing her job and stuff like that too. But later on, she was very protective of her little team. And when she came a Firehawk, it was amazing. She did really good. Even the fire of the graphics looked pretty good though. But I really enjoyed her character. Yes, I really did. I'm going to talk about sirens right now. So obviously you had Nox in there. In the first game, she was a siren. They had no hints towards her or anything like that. They didn't even say the word siren in the movie. I don't understand why or whatever. I always thought the sirens were born with their powers. I believe that's how they explained it, in the games or whatever. But there's a contradiction to that later on too. So in the movie, Lilith gets her powers when she puts the key down, which is only 2 pieces. You put the 2 pieces together, and she was the 3rd piece to open the vault, which makes sense because these guys charge the key to open it up, get the energy. It's all explained in almost all the games. All the sirens have to charge, boom, and she uses iridium to amplify it quicker and stuff like that too, like they kind of did with Angel in the Part 2 game. So were they born, or do they the powers just choose them or whatever? Well, obviously her mother told her kind of about her past. So she was born with the knowledge, because even the little second key was talking to her, right? So if the key was talking to her, she has some kind of knowledge, or she's born with it. She's kind of like the mutant or something like that, waiting to enhance or grow with it or something like that too. So, but then you also have the second game when my girl Maya, the 3rd game, Maya gets, or whatever, but the powers later on transfer to Ava as her replacement from Maya's powers. So I don't know, guys. Leave me some comments below and stuff like that to explain to me about these sirens, because supposedly there's 6 now. In the 3rd game, they're saying there's 7. Who knows? But overall, I thought it was a pretty good movie. I'm actually going to get a copy of it or whatever. And I do like my Borderlands stuff like that too. But like I said, they had to come up with something a little bit to explain, instead of being drawn out like multiple series or the games and stuff like that has, different storylines stuff like that too. They kept key characters. Like they didn't even have Briggs or Mordecai in it or whatever like that. They were completely not in it or whatever. Like they introduced Craig a little too early. I don't remember him being in the first game. I could be wrong, but just correct me below. But yeah, what's your guys' take on the movie though? I didn't mind it. I hope there's more positive people out there. I thought it was all right. Like I said, it was a nice little shoot 'em up stuff. I like seeing all the creatures. Like I said, I felt like I was actually playing the game when I was there and stuff like that too. I would control some of the characters a little different though, and I would like to see a little bit more creatures, stuff like that too. But I'm pretty sure I had a kind of a small budget in the movie and stuff like that too. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I would, out of 10, probably I'd give it like maybe a 6.5 or close to 7. It's not a top notch, but I enjoy the Borderlands stuff. So, all right, guys. Well, that's my little yap about the movie and stuff like that too. And if you guys watched it and actually enjoyed it, leave me a comment below. If you guys didn't like it, whatever. So, guys, next time, kiddies, next time. Oh, and if they do make a sequel, they better bring her in. She better kick some ass. Till next time, kiddies. Till next time.